Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I wanted to demonstrate a trade today. I've been trying to take the two trades when I get through with my trading, and some people ask me, hey, try to record a couple of them. This one's a little bit aggressive, but let me show you what I see. It's got the look of a trading range kind of day. We had a little tight channel working up here. We had the break right here. You can see the close, the move to a new high, and we had a nice reversal bar. Normally you want to wait on a nice second entry short setup, but this is such a nice reversal bar. It's so far away from the EMA. We need to come back and test this breakout area here and probably the EMA too. So aggressive traders probably going to risk this breakout and try to get a scalp out of it. So I went ahead and took it. You can see what I did was I waited on prices to break and then I dropped a limit order in. I, I I got really the best entry you could get on that trade, and I'm just going to scalp out like normal. I'm not. I've come to the conclusion that as a new trader, you're better off just to scalp out of your trades in full rather than to try to use runners. Because what happens if you're just trading two contracts and you're using a runner, most of your runners are going to get stopped out at break even. So a winner really only gives you one contract winner, and when you have a loss, you lose two contracts. And so I think until you really get really good at picking the entries, you're better off just to scalp out in full. And you see it's been bouncing off my exit order here for a few minutes. Hopefully we'll get this thing filled and get out of this. We've got two small correction legs back here. It doesn't, come on and get on through there. Like I said, this was a little bit aggressive. I haven't seen a decent second entry set up. We may get one after this trade. If we do, I'll probably take a second trade off this, assuming I get this one filled first. It's making me nervous that we can't get through that last little. Need one more. There we go. I got filled anyway. And so again, the reason I took this trade, it looks like a range day. Look how flat the EMA is here. We had a little trap down here, reversed, headed back to the top. Looks like we're setting up a trap up here as well. We could go higher. A lot of times you'll get a break and a couple of legs up to a new high. So there's always a possibility that we could go higher from here. But we were so far, that's such a nice reversal bar on this break higher. And we're so far away from the EMA. We didn't come back to test this breakout area. So there were several different reasons I liked going short there. And, I wouldn't take a trade here. Let me back up before I say that and explain this. We're scalpers, and our first objective is just to get us 4 ticks off of a trade. And, if I was trying to be a long, if I'm trying to be a swing trader, no way I'm entering short right here and trying to hang on to a trade. I'm just trying to get 4 ticks, though. So I'm looking for high probability areas where I can enter and get a movement of at least 4 ticks. And we talked about that in yesterday's video. If you're a swing trader today, if you got in down here, this was a pretty good swing trade. But unless you got in down here, there's no way, there's no way you've had a chance to make much money today as a swing trader. But as a scalper, there's multiple 4-tick moves in here. So that is the beauty of what we do, is that prices continually are swinging from one direction to another, and you can just go back and look at the chart, and you can see over and over and over where you can find a decent spot that you can get 4 ticks out of the price action, the movement. Here's a nice one coming down after the 8:30 open. Notice this. You get a first entry long, a second entry long. It fails. Just go short right there. Actually, it failed right there, but this was probably a better setup right here. It wouldn't have mattered if you entered there as long as your stop was above this signal bar, and that's why we use it. Look how they tried to get it up there, and they could never take it higher. There's the reason, there's a rhyme and reason for why we use the price action, the price structure itself to hide our stops. And let me show you something else here. There's a trend working down through here, and you can see how that holds prices very neatly. And so that's the first real setup bar off of that in the EMA. So that's a great place to go short, but I probably would have entered there and might have added on there. And look at that move down. And look what happens. You know, and this was your clue that we were about to reverse. You finally get the break of that channel, a move to a new low. It was by one tick, which is kind of common on a range type day. And then now we've been trending up. We get the break, move to a new high, and now we'll see if we start trending down. Like I said, it's usually best to wait on a second entry, but a lot of times you don't get a second entry. Notice this trade, this setup right here. That's a nice trap. It didn't quite close on its high. If you entered here, this is one you're probably going to want to use a limit order, but you got your second entry here, and it's getting a lot more risky entering there. That's not a great setup. You got your failed second entry short here, so that's the better place, and you can see how that moved a little quicker on up. And then more people are realizing what's going on by here. And this is still moving back to the EMA. That's the reason I like this trade to the short side, because, you know, there's a good chance where, you know, prices usually come back to the EMA really quickly. They don't stay away from it very long, and we haven't touched it since down here at 9:30. And when I entered, it's, you know, 10 o'clock up here. We still hadn't been back to the EMA yet. And you can see that you could have got more than 4 ticks out of this, but we're just being conservative. We just want to scalp our little 4 ticks. And if you can do that a couple of times a day with 2 contracts, that's $200 a day. And again, we talked about all that yesterday, so I'm not going to rehash it. So, but we got one in the books. And it's looking like a range day. We got a little possible trend line working here. I don't really have enough price action to get a good trend line yet. I just kind of went off these first couple of swings here, and it looks pretty accurate to me right there. So you may have to adjust it a little bit, because this one I originally was looking for something off of this, and I had to come back and adjust it. And but once you get a couple of swings, and you get a little better idea of what your little channel is going to look like. And if you can't find it off one side, just draw it off the other. This one was more, I was able to clarify this one quicker off the top than I was the bottom. So just use your price action. If you can't find it on one side of the little trend or channel, find it on the other. But I like these kind of days because to me they're very predictable. We could break out and go higher or go lower here, but it looks like we're probably headed back to the other side again. We'll see. You just have to follow the price action. But I'm going to pause this, and we'll see if we get our second set up. And I'll record another trade, and then we'll probably call it a day. I'm not going to wait a long time, so depending on how quickly another trade sets up that I like. And this one was a little riskier than what I liked, but it's starting to be springtime around here, and the weather's starting to be nice, and I like to get through my trading and get out of here by lunchtime. And you know, springtime, my kids are out of school, and you know, that's why I wanted to be a trader, for the time that it allows, instead of being tied down to a job and tied down to you know, having to answer to somebody else. That was the draw of being a trader to me, because I'm my own boss. I make my own hours. I work when I want, and I work, and you know, if I don't want to work, I don't have to. I didn't work at all yesterday, but today was a really good day. And like I said, I've already met my target and started demonstrating trades, and it's 10 o'clock, and we haven't had more than, let's just look. The lows of the day were 71.50. And the high is 82.50. So we've had a total of 10-point movement, and I've met my target. A swing trader probably couldn't do that unless you have a really small target, or you're trading a really large number of contracts. And I just, you know, if you go back and you look at this day, how's a swing trader going to make any money there? If you, even if you entered at the highs, you might, on this move down, if you entered up in here and around the 8:30 area, if you started trading early 7, you had a chance to make a little money here. You probably could have got in. Let's just say the worst, you realize it's going down, you get in around 1882 area, and it went as low as 1872. There's 10 points. Uh, but then it starts working back, and by the end of the day, you got 5 points worth. So, unless you're a swing trader that's just shooting for 3 to 5 points or something, which is still not really what I would call a swing trader. I think that's still more of a scalper. You're just scalping for a little bigger. There's just not a lot of opportunity. That's why most of your traders are scalping in the ES, because there's so many easy to get 4-tick scalps. I mean, look at this day right here. I might have showed this yesterday. How you gonna make any money as a swing trader in that? You're just gonna get stopped out over and over and over, and you're never gonna make any money. You're just gonna get lost. Look at that day. How do you think, there's where the day ended, and there's where it started. Let me make this a little smaller. How are you gonna make any money on a day like that if you're a swing trader? You're just gonna get chopped to pieces. Look how flat that EMA is. I mean, that was a horrible day. But as a scalper, there's all kind. I mean, you could make your goal a dozen times in that day. So I hope that makes sense why we do what we do. And I'll just explain to you, a lot of times people ask me, how did you get to where you're at? And, I can't tell you, when I was trying to be a swing trader, how many times I would see profit on a trade. I'd have 2, 3 points, and, and they were, you see it in your, as you're trading, and you see you got 2 or 3 points. I mean, I have mine set where it shows my profit total as the prices are moving, and in just about every trade, I would have a point, 2, 3 points. The next thing you know, it's 2 to 3 points against me, and I just would watch that money evaporate, and then I'd have a loser. And I thought, well, what if I just, all those trades, if I'd have just taken a point out of it or a couple of points? So that's what led me to start thinking that scalping is really the way to go. And the next thing you know, all those losers started turning into winners. And then I started thinking again, but then I would watch trades like this one. If you catch it down here, just keep going. And that haunting feeling would come back to me. Man, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. But look, you don't hardly ever have any losers anymore. So you wait it out, and then that led me to the scalp and run. Well, let's just start holding on to maybe 1 or 2 contracts and let those run. And then the profits really took off. So that's kind of the long, the short version of how this developed, is my scalp and run technique. And I'm not the only one that does that. I mean, I'd probably read it and it was in the back of my mind anyway, and then it starts making sense why that's such a great strategy. So, but it works. And you can make money every day. You don't need a lot of movement to make money. Unless you're stuck in a day where, you're going 2 or 3 points tops. And on days like that, you're better off just to stay out. But if it's real tight, you can just, you can blindly buy the low and blindly sell the high and still make money. If you want to be real aggressive and make money that day. So that's just a little history. I'm going to pause this thing a minute. We'll see if we can get another trade in here today. And if we can't, this may be the end of it. So, but I'm going to try to see how long it takes me to, it's still only 10:30. So, I mean, I've gotten my trading out of the way and one demonstration out of the way, and it's 10:30. So, but I'm going to probably give it another 30 minutes to see if surely something will set up by then. And if it does, we'll demonstrate another trade. And if not, this may end up being it for today. So, because I'm eager to get out of here, I'm sorry. But it is a beautiful day. It's supposed to be 77 degrees today, and sun shining. My kids are out of school, and it's spring break. It's quiet around here. This is a college town, so it's really quiet around here. But hope your morning's going well. I'm going to pause this, and we'll be back if something else sets up here shortly. I just want to do a little update here. You can see that I had my trend line right. Prices have just been creeping down that trend line, and we may just creep all the way down. I don't know, but I haven't really seen a decent setup. This one, I didn't like this one because it's too close to the EMA, but you notice right there we got no rejection off that EMA. We just went right on through, and then we kind of tested it from below. And this is a little congestion there. That's the reason I didn't like going short there. And you can see if you had of, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have got your scalp yet. But notice that big bar and then two little dojis inside. That's a little tiny congestion area. And what it is, prices have just moved really far downward without any correction. But a lot of people are following this trend line. So there's still people that were willing to go short, but there's not enough to really push it on down. We need a little tick back or a little correction here or something to probably get this thing moving again. So I'm going to keep looking for a second entry. It's been about 20 minutes now, so I don't know if we're going to get another setup here. I'm going to wait a little bit longer and see, but I did want to show you that. And I went ahead and put the other trades on here, and at the very least I'll come back and talk about them, but I'd really like to get that second trade and demonstrate that. It looks like we're going to get they're trying to get a close outside. We did get a little tick higher here. We may just turn and go straight down. We'll see if something sets up, but I'm going to pause it again. Okay, I picked back up here, and we just really never, the second entry didn't come to right here, and I think it was kind of risky to enter short right here, but look at that move. And I mean, that's why, you keep these runners on these really aggressive ones when you get good enough, because a runner, you could have ridden this all the way down. And I mean, you can see exactly what happened here. We went through the EMA, we pulled back, we tested it, we tried to come back and test again, and I should have I wanted to go short there, but I really thought we'd get a little more correction. I don't even know if that's technically a break outside this trend line, because this thing could be just slightly, this mouse. This thing could be more like that right there. My mouse is just shot. I'm going to have to go buy a new mouse. Somebody sent me a little program, and it helps on the double click, but I cannot get the mouse to hold. And you can see that's fitting really nice, and then we shot right on through and have way overshot it now. So we may get a long setup here. I'm really tempted just to enter right here, but I don't like the way this bar is just kind of like an up-down bar. I'd rather wait on the second entry and be a little bit more conservative. And we don't really have a new low yet. We got a new high here. We may not get a new low. I'm looking at this as the possible low area right across here. I actually had it right across those lows. We get the most touches there, and that's where we've bounced so far. So we'll see what happens. But we're a long way away from the EMA. We way overshot this little channel here. The odds are we're probably going to snap back here pretty quickly. We'll see what happens. We'll see if something sets up here in a minute. But let's go ahead. I'm going to talk about the trades that I saw this morning. Notice this little congestion area, the break lower. That's a new low, a first entry short, a second entry short. You're looking for prices to come back up here anyway. So there's a long there, and look at it go. It trapped everybody short. It runs up here, and it breaks out this upper side. And then we get there's too much overlap really to take that entry right there. You get a second entry right here. It's not a beautiful setup, but I think most traders are probably going to want to take that. It's a breakout pullback short. It's right off a possible little trend line right there. You're probably going to get a second leg back. And then you get the failed second entry long there. Plus that's a little two-legged correction back to the EMA. So there's a couple of different reasons to go short right there. Look at it go. I think you don't want to be entering down here because you're probably going to end up with some kind of reversal down here. And I like this bar here. This is what rejection looks like. Notice how we came down here. We made the new low. We had the break, and then we come up and we pull back really, and then go up and close on the very high there. I liked entering right there. There's another little pullback and entry there. So you really could have entered either one of those places. I went back and forth whether or not to make them green, but it's really like a second entry long there. especially that little matching high. But I really like this one because now you got a failed second entry short, and that one takes on off and moves pretty quickly. Then this pulls back. That's a nice reversal bar. This is one I would wait for it to break higher and try to use a limit order if you can. It's a little more aggressive because it's a first entry, but we're probably coming up here to test that. And of course we did. And then this one's a little more aggressive because it's a first entry. But look, it's really the only entry you got unless you took a second entry way down here. And that's really risky because you're going short low here. It did work. It's a little two-legged move probably. So if you took that, I'm going to mark that one as aggressive because I really wanted to take it. And probably should have. If I would be done with this now, I'd have your two demonstration trades. It's a little bit risky though, so I'm gonna leave it as green. Let me just circle the right bar. This is your signal bar right here, and I would have used a limit order on this one probably. Wait for it to break lower, then drop your limit order maybe right at the close, and I think you would have gotten a field on that pretty easy. So. Now we're headed back up, but we may not get a second entry here again. That's why sometimes you just have to be aggressive. I'm going to mark this one as aggressive. But let me go back and talk about this second entry right here because I just had an email question on this. Let me move these out of the way. You don't know that this second entry is going to fail, and people ask me, where do you enter here? Well, what you're doing is, let's just come over here. You see prices coming up, so you're waiting on a correction, and then you get your second entry short there. But we're not looking to go short because this is a reversal type pattern. Look at the new low. We got the break, the new low, and we went right past that. We went right through the EMA, and we pulled back to the EMA. So all of a sudden you get this bar that looks like it's going to reverse. So as soon as that bar closes, you drop a limit order to buy, or a buy stop order right above that bar. And if prices tick up and this fails, you get your order gets executed and you're into the trap and you get to go with it. If it doesn't fail and it keeps working lower, just cancel the order. So that's how you enter that. You can't wait till it's already triggered and try to enter because most of those traps move so quick you're not going to get in the trade. You're going to be too late, and you don't want to. You can't enter one tick late in these things. You got to enter. The only place to enter this is with a stop order one tick above it or better than that. You can't enter one tick late. So as soon as that bar closes, just click right there and put a buy stop order just like that right there and be ready for it to, and then in the next bar, you see I would have got filled right there. And a limit order would have come back and filled even to that high, and then it takes on off. And you're already out of the trade now on the second bar. And it just keeps on going. So that's how you enter those things. You don't know that, there's no way to anticipate. There's no way to know for sure what's going to happen. So you have to anticipate that, hey, we may get a failure here. You see the second entry short, and then it reverses instantly and closes on its high. There's a good chance that's going to fail. So you want to go with it if it does. So I hope that makes sense on that. And hey, let's see if we can get a second entry here. Long. We got a little pullback, a little correction there. This is just really bearish. So, and this is not rejection for the most part here. So I don't know if I like going long here. You can see this one was real aggressive, and we're probably going to go back to the EMA, I would think. I'm pretty confident that that's where we're probably going to go higher from here for that matter. But we hadn't really had a break of this little trend line right here. We overshot it, which is usually about the same thing. So I'm tempted to want to go long here, but it doesn't look like rejection like this did right here. I don't see the rejection yet. And by the time we do see some rejection, we may be almost back to the, that's one thing. I use the CMA. If I'm looking to get long on a reversal, I want it to be way away from the EMA for the most part, unless there's a second entry or something, and I know that we've got a trend line working up in the other direction, because if you get in too close to the EMA, that's where you're going to always be looking for your first reversal just like right here when it was pulling back, we're looking for our first reversal off that trend line or that EMA, and we got it off. I mean, it's hard to say which one. It looks like it touched that EMA perfectly, so I'm looking at that as the reversal. But that EMA is just a tool. I mean, there's nothing written in stone about that EMA, so don't get locked in on that. But it shows you, it gives you clues as to what is happening or maybe going to transpire on a trade. You don't like to, if you're going short, you don't want to get in real close to this EMA if it's above it. And if you're going long, you don't want to get in real close to this EMA if prices are below it, because there's a good chance it's going to act as resistance. And when it doesn't, that's a sign. Just like right here, you know, it went right through, it pulled back, and then it took off again. And but notice how that little bar looks like rejection. Here we got what looked like rejection. This kind of even looks like rejection. This doesn't really look like rejection. Doesn't mean that we're not going to go higher, but I just think there's too many traders that are hesitant to enter long here because this is just really bearish, and you want to see some kind of sign that, you know, we have no break of this trend line either. So I'm just really hesitant to go long there. I'd rather wait on something that's a sure thing than take a chance. And this is where patience comes in. You know, it was really tempting to enter there. And sometimes the first entry, you know, if you understand what's going on here, the first entry is probably less risky than the second one, if that makes sense, because what can happen is we may tick higher here just enough to get that second entry to work, and then you may end up trending down off this trend line again, and it looks like we're going to try to come back down here. There's just not enough traders willing to. I just think this is too bearish for people to want to look at getting long here. It takes these, just like up here, it took it a little bit of time to reverse. It's probably going to take it a little more time. We may come down here and test these original lows. So we'll see what happens here. We may come down here and touch it again and get some rejection this time, but so far we hadn't. So I'm just going to pause it a few more minutes. This video is about 27 minutes long. If we don't get a long setup here real quickly, I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I'm going to pause it and just give it another second and see what happens. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. We just can't get another, we're just not getting any rejection down here. It's going to take a little while till we're either going to work lower. We got a break of this trend line now. We may shoot to a new low and then reverse, but the video's getting close to 30 minutes now, so I'm just going to wrap this up. And you can see the dangers of trying to, you know, pick bottoms here. That's why that's why I recommend highly against it. And this was just not a good reversal bar. And you know, you can see the difference between that trade and this trade. And that's why I really didn't take that one. I did mark it as aggressive, but you see, you would have, you know, you either would have gotten out at break even or with a tick or two loss, or you'd have taken a full stop almost here. Let's just look at that. This is a good learning example. If you'd entered, you just about can't enter that trade on a stop, because that's just not a great signal bar. So you might have used a limit order and you might have got filled at 74.25. So you wouldn't have got stopped out on this. You would have if you used a 2-point stop, but that's really dangerous right here, because the odds are we may come down here and try to make a new low. So that's a great example of why you got to be careful when you're aggressive. You need something like a reversal bar like that, something that shows rejection. And this really looked a lot like a rejection bar here, and that was just a failed second entry long that tries to lead to a short. So a short could be setting up here if nothing else. I like this to the downside, but I think it's too dangerous to go short here as well. So this is where you just have to be patient and wait until you get a setup. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. I hate we couldn't get another trade in today, but we'll leave it at that. And hopefully you learned something from today's trading. I'm going to wrap it up early, and I'm going to get out of here. So this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.